What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Rough Draft Podcast. I'm Emery Cuzzy, and I'm super excited to get into this video. This is our second video ever. Our first video was a major hit, 2,000 plus views. Y'all commented, y'all subscribed. I appreciate y'all so much. We're going to go on this journey through this 2026 NFL draft process, and it's going to be really fun. Some of the things I want y'all to leave in the comments today. Tell me who you want your team to draft after watching the Senior Bowl this last week. And tell me, where I am too high or where I'm too low, because of course no one is going to be the same, but I appreciate the input, and we can have a conversation. Coming up though, this week is going to be the Super Bowl. We're going to do our first mock draft after the Super Bowl on Tuesday or Wednesday next week, I believe. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have the full draft order because of that, and of course go over there onto GTD and hang out with Cam. Cam's going to continue his success of killing those DFS slates. We're going to be banking on that. So yeah, good time. Now let's talk about this video itself. Before I pull up any screens or anything like that, I'm going to be honest with you. I had a really hard time finding 75 players I really liked. I did. 75 players to put on this list. It's not top 100, it's top 75. And I'm still having a hard time. I just don't think this class is as talented as I want it to be. And so some of those guys that maybe y'all send in those comments, maybe I'll go watch again, and maybe they'll jump up a little bit on the board, because there are a lot of spots coming up in those top 150 area. I'm just like, I don't know who exactly to put in there. It's not like the old classes, basically, is what I'm getting at. But let's talk about Senior Bowl. Learned a lot about these players. I think that's always important. There's some small school players showing that they can play at the big levels, which is always great. Also saw a lot of good on good, which made me feel good, because then I can be direct comparison. We talked about that with the edges last week and things like that. So like I said, though, this draft is down. Certain positions, that's just not true, though. I don't think that that's true in certain positions. And I think that there's, even on this video, there's going to be 15 players from one position. So I think that is at least good depth. It's just not the top end talent that we're looking for. We're really just waiting for 2027 to see all that top end talent, technically, because everybody went back to school. That will reflect in the draft in this big board, though, because about 10 of the guys from the top 50 original fell out. So they went back to school. And so Dante Moore's of the world, Amari Washington's from there, and then Mateo Laguerre, all on the same team. It's crazy. But, it's always fun. Let's go ahead and get into it, because it's going to be a long video, and I want to knock out as much as possible, as fast as possible, and not waste y'all's time. Let's get into it. Starting off, honorable mentions offense. The first player on the board is Caleb Tiernan out of Northwestern. He's one of the guys that most people actually have top 50 to top 75. I don't. I think that the arm length is an issue. I think that there's a lot of deficiencies in just being an athlete that kind of hold me back from him, but I do think, he will make the top 100 players. I'm not going to talk a lot about these guys. We're going to kind of run through these guys quickly, because, we have 75 players, and so we're going to run through. Keelan Rutledge on interior offensive line from Georgia Tech. He was really, really good this week at the Senior Bowl, and that's kind of why I'm pushing him up my board. I thought that, he just had the balance. He can play the guard position. He can play the center position. There's a lot of things that they did at the Senior Bowl that I thought showcased the things that he does well, but then also thought he really raised to the occasion of being like, I can play. I'm good enough at pass blocking and stuff like that I thought was good, because I don't know that I saw that originally from him. So I'm happy to see that he is doing that. The next one is Mike Washington Jr. We talked about Mike Washington Jr. being RB3 for us. I'm going to just continue beating that, because the man absolutely was the best running back at the Senior Bowl, alongside guys like Katron Allen and Nick Singleton. And so I just think with that, it was almost the check mark that I should put him in the top 100. He's obviously not on this list, but the top 100 is coming up, and he'll probably be on there, because I really just like this guy. I think he's ready to play at the NFL level, and so that's why he's on here. The next guy is Justin Jolie. Justin Jolie out of NC State. I thought he played well. I thought the tight ends overall were just kind of lackluster this week, but I thought Justin Jolie was good enough to put on this list. He was our tight end 3 going into the week, and we talked about him on the Senior Bowl show. So I think that it just kind of stayed that way, and I'm excited to see where he can progress, but I don't know. This is part of the problem that I was talking about with like finding 75 guys to go on this list. Like, I can't put Justin Jolie top 75 personally, but I also know that he'll probably end up being top 100, because there's just not a ton of guys that I can see putting over him. I like what he does as a receiver. I think that the size came in a little smaller than I expected, but I think he can still block somewhat well enough to be on the field as a tight end too. So Definitely a guy that I'm excited about, but I see that there are issues, and we need to really see if he can overcome those, basically. Let's jump over to the defense. First guy is going to be Zakee Wheatley out of Penn State. I'm really hyped up about him. I was high on him last year when he was in the playoffs. He had looked really well, looked really good, and I think that he kind of just continued that this year. He's a long, rangy guy, solid tackler, kind of just is good at everything. And he's a little older, but I think I like his upside and his talent in a defense that, kind of can use him as a versatile football player. And I think that is where he'll be best fit. Next up is going to be edge Malachi Lawrence, really solid football player. I think, he's going to be really comfortably in the top 100. He's a bigger like outside linebacker in my opinion. He's really thick, really solid. He's a little bit older, but he has a bag of moves that is really impressive that I just don't think everybody in this class has. There's a spin move in there. There's a bunch of ghost moves. He can chop and all the things. And he makes quarterbacks really uncomfortable. So I like that part of him. I just don't know if he can do it in the run game as much. And so also, I don't think he's an elite athlete. The higher end athletes kind of go higher than him. But I think there's a lot of good, if that makes sense. And then Kamari Ramsey out of USC. I'm actually much lower on Kamari Ramsey than the consensus. But I mean, he's still a good football player. It's like, he's still probably going to be a top 100 player, and he probably fits the mold of like he's versatile, and he played the nickel a lot this year. He's an okay tackler, not great, but not bad. But most likely he's going to play high safety, and if he can fit into that role like he did last year, not this year. They put him at nickel this year. I thought he looked a lot worse as a high cover one split safety. I think he's a lot better. So I think that's what NFL teams are going to do with him. So hopefully we get Kamari Ramsey of old, basically. The next guy's Skylar Gill-Howard out of Texas Tech. Unfortunately, he got injured, and I believe he tore his ACLs. He's a little older, so there's a lot of things working against him, but the juice that he has as a pass rusher on the inside and the leverage he plays with and the hands, all the things that he can do, he just looks seasoned. He looks like he's older. He looks like he's ready to play at the NFL level, and I just think as a rotational interior defensive lineman, I like him a lot. I think I would take a shot on him. I think he's really fun player to get on your team. So, yeah, those are honorable mentions, offense and defense. Let's go over to the top 75 board and get it going. We're going to talk about these things in conjunction. So like different position groups and things like that instead of going one through one. First off, we're going to talk about the nickels. And the first nickel on the board will be Chandler Rivers at 65 there. He was our dark horse originally. And if y'all haven't watched the channel before on the GTD side, we have a dark horse for every position, sometimes two, because we just think maybe these guys are going to fly up boards during that season. One of our biggest ones is Sonny Styles that we'll get to later. But like Chandler Rivers is one of our dark horses. I just love how stingy of a player he is. He stays connected. He's physical and he's willing to tackle and make plays. So I'm a big fan of him as a competitor. And that's what I saw last year. I think that competitive nature could get him on the field more than most people are giving him credit for currently. Next up is going to be Jalen Kilgore, who, of course, is another dark horse. So, yes, I like these nickels. I think nickel is becoming a true position in the NFL. I think you draft it not as like a sub package anymore. I think you play nickel. A lot of teams just play nickel as their base. So, Jalen Kilgore. How about a giant nickel? This guy is huge. Love the size plus athleticism combo. He's long, rangy, physical athlete. Not going to shy away from contact. He's not like the greatest tackler in the world, but at the same time, he has the like physical build to increase his tackling ability. Looks like a linebacker out there, basically. He's good at covering tight ends and running backs. Just a really good chess piece for a defense, in my opinion. And he can fit in any sub package you want. But the upside, because he can play on the goal line, he can play in the middle of the field, he can play coming out. All those things, he can come in the game and help your defense as a sub package player. And if you are a true nickel starting team, he'll be on the field for you. And I just think he just makes a lot of sense in a lot of schemes and a lot of teams' minds, probably. Next up is going to be D'Angelo Pons. A lot of people have D'Angelo Pons a lot higher than I do, and he's at 75 here. I think he's a nickel. I love the competitor he is on the outside, but you can obviously see that when he plays against like true X receivers, they will have their way with him. And at the NFL level, they will have their way a lot more often than at the college level. Consensus will just be higher than I am personally, because I think if you're an outside corner, sure, you can rank him higher. But if he's not an outside corner, I think you have to rank him lower. So I don't think he's Mike Sanders, so basically. Think he is another guy that I like because of competitiveness, though. Will take on anybody and he will make tackles and he will get after it. And that's why I think nickel just makes sense. I know he might be undersized, but I don't care because he's way more undersized, in my opinion, to play number one corner on the outside. But one thing that I do love about him is he's a really high IQ player. He recognizes concepts and he triggers quickly to break up the ball. The next grouping is we're going to talk about is the interior offensive line group. This is like the bulk of the interior offensive line. And I'm excited about this group, actually. This is one of my, some of these guys are small names and might move up, and some of them, are guys that might even be higher, like the first guy, Chase Basantis. He's one of the best interior pass blockers in the class. He's just got NFL guard. He's the size. The size is there. The lateral athlete that he is pretty cool. He mirrors really well, plays with good leverage, strong hands on initial punch, and he's an expert at hand fighting. The big thing is he has to improve his awareness, and I think he's very scheme dependent. I do not think he can move. I don't think he can pull. I don't think he can do those types of things. So he's not going to be on a gap scheme team. He's probably going to be on a downhill zone scheme team. I think the problem is he has some physical prowess, but there are so many mental lapses, and that's why I can't have him that much higher than this. The next guy is Matt Golban. He feels like that perfect interior offensive lineman that you get on day 2, late day 2, or early day 3, and you're just like, this guy's a plug and play starter for a long time. Most people are not talking about him, but I really like him. So many good players are found in that range, though, that I was just talking about. This guy has just some great feet. He mirrors. He's movement blocking to a T. He gets out on screens. He's got the outside zone ability, and he's a good second level blocker. He also, one of the things that I always look at is do you stop your feet on contact? Do you drive through it? And I just think he just so much lower body driving and just that lower body stimulation and movement. He's not like the power profile guy, but he is going to, force is derived by speed, and not only speed but also weight. So we're going to talk about this as this is your speed guy. He's going to get after it in that way. So if he hits you going 100 miles per hour, you're still going to feel it even if it's little. He's not that small. I'm just being ridiculous, but still has the girth you like, actually, in my opinion. I just love the demeanor that he plays with. He's a competitor. He's a finisher. He's just one of those guys that's going to find very few negatives. You're not going to find very many negatives in graded plays. You're just going to say, hey, maybe he's not the most physically gifted guy, and that's why he's not higher even. Next guy's Logan Jones out of Iowa. Logan Jones is a absolute stud, and if you don't know who he is, he's just been killing. Obviously Iowa offensive line has been really good, he's surrounded by really good players. But this guy is the heart of that offensive line. He's undersized. That's his biggest issue. He's got short arms, something like that. But he might be the most technically sound player in this class for any offensive lineman, period. Upper level athlete for the position. He's got some really, really great athletic scores, and I can't wait for him to test at the combine because of it. He understands angles. He's got high IQ. He knows what the defender is actually trying to do, and then it allows him to counter accordingly and quickly. He's just very, snappy with it. And so when something happens, he gets after it, and he's gonna try to finish you. He's an Iowa offensive lineman. That is how I should put this. He is smart. He is physical. He lacks, of course, some of the traits that you might want, but he is going to get after it. And, hand placement and foot drive, he just equals finish for him. He just does it. The next guy is Jennings Dunker. Ranking based on him playing interior offensive line. He's not going to play tackle. That's just how it is. But very few teams are going to have him as tackle on their board at this point, so that's good. He's just not as good of a pass blocker, even knowing I saw him play better and do better at pass blocking at the Senior Bowl. That was really good to see. As a run blocker, he's exactly what you want. A little scheme dependent, but he's just going to get after it. There's effort. And he's one of those guys that he's not Trevor Penning by any means, but he's just trying to hurt you, if that makes sense. He's going to try to bury you into the ground, and that's really cool. I love to see that. Honestly, that's what I want my interior offensive linemen to do, because they just, getting after it like that is very important to me. But yeah, so I'm not going to go over everybody. I know there's some names on here that maybe people want to talk about. Put them in the comments. I'll get onto them. Like Jacob Rodriguez, of course, is a tantalizing player, but we're going to go over to the next slide, and we're going to start off with the the tight end position here with Max Clare. Max Clare is kind of in his own tier of tight end, in my personal opinion. You have a guy that is the number one tight end that's much higher, and then next tight end after Max Clare's kind of a pretty big gap, in my personal opinion. He's the prototypical tight end prospect with upside. Playing at Ohio State, he was surrounded. He Carnell Tate, Jeremiah Smith. There's just guys, and he did a lot more inline blocking and inline stuff, which I thought was actually good for him. I think he's fine here, but it's not really where he shines, if that makes sense. Like, I think he should play in the slot. He should play as a wing and be more of an H tight end than a Y tight end, but that's okay, because I think that, he can do both, and he's kind of that all-around guy. I think if it was me personally, I would have him at that H spot. He really reminds me of Dalton Kincaid. He's probably less of an athlete, but I think that's kind of the comp I would give to Max Clare if I had like a comp in front of me right now. In my opinion, tight end is the hardest position to figure out this year, though. So, like, I brought up Justin Jolie, but there's so many guys, and if you go and look at other content creators, they're all over the place. I mean, tight end is the most insane position when it just comes to straight ranking them. So I think that I like Max Clare second most. He's right here, not breaking the top 50, but pretty dang close. Next up is going to be our wide receiver group. Elijah Surratt is the first guy from Indiana. I think he just knows how to get open. Savvy route runner, just a really nuanced how he attacks blind spots, leverage, and stop and go. Very good adjuster to specific coverages. I just see a really solid wide receiver 2/3. I don't know that he's going to ever be a wide receiver 1. That's not really what his like stylistic feels like to me. But I think if you're like, hey, let's get this guy on our team to play wide receiver 3, and he can basically play slot, outside, wherever you want him. He can kind of run any route, and he can do anything you want him to. That's what I look at. He bails his quarterback out. He's a possession style of receiver. He kind of, I think his ceiling, if I had like a ceiling look, is Keenan Allen. I think he reminds me of that style of play with like how he runs routes. He's not going to be physically imposing. He's not going to be the greatest athlete out there by any means, but what he does well, you kind of like hope you kind of get that wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 out of, and he could be 1,000-yard receiver if he does hit that ceiling. The next one is going to be Chris Bell. Chris Bell, unfortunately, has a season-ending injury of a torn ACL, and it kind of puts this like bad taste in my mouth, because it's not that I wasn't the biggest fan of Chris Bell as an athlete. Like, this dude is a physical freak. I mean, he is absolutely just so swole. And he uses his route running, and he uses that swollenness at the catch point and in his route running to get people off of him. But I don't love how Louisville used him. I thought there was just so many gadgety plays, and I don't know if he's that guy or if he's like a true like AJ Brown type, because that is what, like, if you're talking about high end comp, it's probably AJ Brown. That's what you get out of him: swollenness and like just that physical build and willingness to run across the middle and do all those things. That's what I see. But truly, he kind of reminds me of how I felt about Xavier Legette coming out. I wasn't as high. I mean, I wasn't as high as the NFL was on Xavier Legette, but at the same time, like, I was like, this guy has all the tools to do it. I just haven't seen him put it together in a way that I think makes sense at the NFL level. And that's kind of what I'm running into here. He doesn't necessarily have any tools. He doesn't have any issues with his tools. He just doesn't necessarily play NFL football, in my opinion, yet. So we'll see. I could be very wrong. He's at 60 here. That also is baked in with the injury, because it's very hard to overcome stuff like that. And we've seen players that take 2 years to get back from injury. Some players like Jonathan Brooks, who hasn't even come back from injury yet. So things like that. The next guy is going to be Ted Hurst. Ted Hurst is a guy that really impressed at the Senior Bowl. I was high on him already, but then he made that awesome one-handed catch, and it was like, okay, like I wanted to see him against good competition. Could he separate? And we saw him, he ran right past Julian Neal, who was pressed on him, and caught the one-hander. So that was really cool to see. He's that new school X receiver, like more speed but smaller build. And questions I come into this is like, okay, when he went to the Senior Bowl, I wanted to know if he could play that press stuff, and I wanted to know if he could get off the ball and he could get open, and I thought that he did that. I also saw that he's probably only like a 3 to 4 catch guy in the NFL. a week to week, but at the same time, he might be that three catch guy for like 90 yards and a touchdown. So you kind of get those types of feels with him. Like, and so funny enough, it's like, does he Devontae Smith, but larger, if that makes sense? Like the lower level Devontae Smith, but larger. But I like Ted Hurst a lot, so that's why he's all the way up here at 61. One of the guys that the NFL likes more than I do currently, which might change. I really think Zachariah Branch is just so electric as a player, but I have issues that maybe others don't. I love the athlete. That's not the problem. With the ball in his hands, he is a difference maker. Where he gets the ball is my issue. He has he's an ADOT, average depth of the target of 3.3 yards. Some players in this class have more yards per reception, more yards per route run than that. So is this a Georgia issue? Well, no, because USC did the same thing with him. Did not get him the ball down the field at all. So I'm not confident in putting a gadget player in my top 50. Some people are right now. I think DeAndre Jeremiah did. I think Mel Kiper has him in like the top 25. I just don't think, the NFL doesn't seem to like him. I'm sorry, the NFL seems to like him if like we're listening to the experts. But at the same time, like, I don't want to bet on a guy that doesn't catch the ball down the field. That's just me. Gadget wide receivers are normally wide receivers 3s at best, floor wise, at the NFL, and that scares shit out of me. Next up is going to be our quarterback on the board, which is Ty Simpson. Sits in the Shedeur and Dart tier to me. I think some people have him in like their top 20, but I also know that most people push quarterbacks up boards. I just don't. I put them where I think that they are as a prospect, and that's right here. Currently think he's right behind the Shedeur and Dart tier, though. Situation is going to be so important for him, and because there are issues. I mean, he's undersized. He doesn't have a lot of starts. Like, if I read you his resume, most people would be like, yeah, that's not an NFL quarterback, right? He has some of the greatest throws on tape, though, from this year. And I want to know how much we're holding on to those, because Zach Wilson, everybody's BYU Zach Wilson, had those throws all over his tape. Wilson started 28 games while Simpson starts 15. So there's a lot of things, it all comes down to situation, like I said, and how well he matures and processes the game. But I think that is the tier you're looking at, is the Shedeur Dart tier. And because there were issues with those guys too. I'm going to continue diving into the film, though, and just trying to figure out where I think like he really fits. Definitely not a finished eval on this guy, because there are so many questions. And of course, he decided to come out late, so I didn't necessarily have him as my top guy to watch. Next up, we're gonna go to the next slide. If you want to talk about any of the other guys on the board, just let me know. Put it in the comments, and I'll go ahead and do even individual videos if y'all want me to. First up, Jadarian Price. The guy right there on the picture, that is a swole dude right there. Jadarian Price is our running back 2. There is no question in my mind that he is the second best running back in this class. Unfortunately, he played next to the best running back in this class. So when I watched him play, I can actually see, I see a pro level running back. There's no question in my mind. Too bad, he was with Jeremiah Love. Thought he was just a muscle hamster going into film. And that's not what he is. He's not just a muscle hamster. That is not like the only thing that describes him. I was very wrong. So much more nuance to this guy's game than I was expecting. He's big play upside is always there. That I was not sure about. Like the 15+ yard plays, like, wow, they're everywhere. 0.0% drop rate over his career. The NFL style kick returner, because now that the NFL plays the new kick return rules, this guy right here is the perfect kick returner in that. And I think that he has got more burst than most people give him credit for, because he just didn't show it as much. But there are some plays where I'm like, wow. He's just a really good running back with round 2 upside all day long, in my opinion. Like, I don't think there's a question. And I keep saying that, but like, I think the fact that there are other guys, Jonah Coleman's, that are being pushed above this guy just blows me away, because there is no way they are as electric and like have the ability to make people miss, open field, get after it, and separate speed, like long speed. Like, this guy has all of that, and we're ranking other guys above him, and that blows my mind. He reminds me so much of Javonte Williams, like just how the build is, the size, the style. Like, I really like Javonte coming out of North Carolina, and I think that Jadarian Price is very similar to that. So if you need a comp, there's my comp for him. Okay, let's talk about a polarizing guy in Caden Proctor. This was a guy I was lower on coming into the year, and he's basically right where I thought he would be. Now, that doesn't mean that other people had him top 10, and now they're slowly, moving him back to the 30s. But I'm even going to be lower on him than possibly them. Foot speed is my like it's an all-time issue. Like literally, he reminds me of Mekhi Becton. There are so many people that want to say that he can do he's such a good athlete and he can play at the NFL level as an athlete. Well, I'm sorry, I do not see it. I just don't see it. I think he could play guard much better than he could play tackle. His old teammate JC Latham is moving to guard. I think they were teammates at one point. No. I'm wrong. They were not teammates. JC Latham had been gone before he got there. But JC Latham, old Alabama player, moving to guard. It just makes sense. They're just too big and they don't lose weight, so they can't move, and their foot speed is slow, and then they don't have bend. That is just explaining these guys. Like, we can't put these guys that high just because they're massive people. And we just think, oh, well, they can play tackle because they have to, because they're 6'7". Like, I don't know what to tell you. This guy is not a tackle. I think he's a guard. So I pretty comfortably believe he will go first round. I just will not have him there. And he might even be lower on our next board. He actually is lower on this board by 4 spots, as you can see by the 42 in the original board. Safety. So you have the safety 2 and 3, and they're 1 spot apart. Emmanuel McNeil-Warren from Toledo. This is a guy that I really like, but I'm not sure how high he should be. He's a small school player, plays a new style of safety, the box safety, the long and closer to the box player, basically another linebacker. This is taking over the NFL right now. You either have to have a nickel or you have a big safety, and so this is your big safety right here. I'm just trying to figure out how successful I think he will be at the next level, because I don't know that I think he's just going to be, walk in day one and be Nick and Manwari. But he has that type of upside, defensive player of the year upside. But we're probably going to regress much farther down than that, and come closer to the mean of what he could be. And that is a really good player that could even be a sub package player. But I don't know if he's just so elite as an athlete that you can say he needs to be in the top 30. Next up is Dylan Thieneman. I was lower on him because I didn't think he played well. And then, I'm talking about because he wasn't ranked on the first big board. Like, I was lower on him, but he played so good in the playoffs. Like, I think it was like the Minnesota game on. The USC game on. He was just killing it. He could have probably been higher than this, and he's just one of the best coverage players in the class. He has route recognition, alignment, versatility. They played him at Monster a lot, and they also play him at Split. Like, he's played every safety position in the book since he was at Purdue for 2 years and this year. He's a high effort player, and he's got coverage versatility. He can do so many things. So I really, honestly, he'll probably be much higher on the next big board because I need to go watch some more of those games. But he just really impressed me while he was, going through the Big Ten, the end of the Big Ten, and then also the college football playoff. I thought he was really good. Let's go over to the next group. It's going to be the linebacker. We're only going to talk about 2 of them. We're not going to talk about Jake Golday, who actually fell down 6 spots. But we're going to talk about Josiah Trotter, who I did not watch for the first big board. I did not realize this guy's game, and I'm so sorry. One of the last linebackers I watched, but I just can't get enough. He reminds me so much of my college teammate. It's so funny. Like, I watched him play. Like, I watched like I start with highlights sometimes because I'm like, okay, I just need to see like if this guy's worth really getting into when you're like trying to make a big board of like, guys that are, kind of all over the place, and you're just like, hey, let me see if I can just rank him against his peers, or like, and see if I think he falls. And I was like, wow, this guy's incredible. He just goes. He's just so good at going and just being physical. He's a redshirt sophomore. He's a much younger guy. This is a heat-seeking missile, like absolute heat-seeking missile. He's built out of a fire hydrant, if you ask me. I mean, he hits people and their heads just boom, straight back. Strong, powerful. Of course, he's got some issues in coverage because he's a little bit more stiff than some of the other guys, but this is the Mike linebacker that plays the run all the time and just blows it up. I mean, I think that he is ready to be one of the top linebackers against the run in the NFL. He is that physically built. Problem is he might be picked on a little bit because of it, because he's not as good at coverage and stuff like that. But he is not a problem tackling in open space. Like he is a good tackler. He's a good football player. He's also right next to CJ Allen. CJ Allen is very similar to Josiah Trotter. Josiah Trotter. I just happen to like Trotter more. Maybe I'm biased because I see my college teammate in him and how they play, but CJ Allen is a green dot guy. Run stopping, good at run stopping, high IQ player. He also has those coverage issues. I think that he's not as good of an athlete as Trotter. I think Trotter's actually a better athlete, and I think that gives him an opportunity to possibly increase and be better at coverage. Very good tackler though for CJ Allen, 7.8% missed tackle rate. I think that this is such a good football player. I really do. I just do not see the ceiling that some other people see. I think he is a long-time starter in the league and a guy that, you want on your team. But I just don't know that he's an all-pro. And I think that is the difference. I think Josiah Trotter has the opportunity to be an all-pro. And I think Josiah Trotter could be higher on this list and we will go over to our next screen, but if some of these guys didn't do so good at raising their stock. First up, we're going to talk about the defensive line. Defensive line starts with Christian Miller down there at 39. Run stopping phenom. If you had to give grades for certain things, he would have an A. He's an A run stopper. One of the strongest players in the class. I've heard people say that he is the strongest player in the class. Sure. I mean, I could see that. Absolutely. Problem is, I don't know what else he offers. And I can't put him higher. And I actually moved him up 2 spots, but I can't put him higher if he doesn't offer just ceiling. He's not a top 32 pick if he doesn't have a ceiling that's like, oh yeah, I think he can actually turn into a pass rusher and have some of that. Or he is the best run stopper. Those two things. I liked Alfred Collins more, if that makes sense. So if I liked Alfred Collins more and he was in the 40s in last year's class, I can't put Christian Miller in the 30s or the 20s and just be like, yeah, that makes sense. So I think because I liked Alfred Collins more, I kind of brought down Christian Miller and was like, okay, maybe I'm just overhyping him because I love guys that are so good on first and second down. And that's what this guy is. Now, Lee Hunter, on the other hand, he is stacking good performances, man. He's dominated the Senior Bowl, one of the most dominant players, unblockable players. Don't think that the way he was as good in one-on-ones, and I think I've heard people say, oh, he was good all week. I don't know that I think one-on-ones he was as good, but I just not really sure it's his strong suit. I don't know if he was made to do one-on-ones. But regular play in the game, like everywhere else when it was like team, this dude was one of the most dominant players on the field. The Oregon game, he showed off his ability. He tossed Pancho Ipani and just threw him. And he's going to be a top center next year. So I thought that was really good. I saw issues in his pass rush plan. I think when he loses right off the rip, he's just going to go straight to power and he doesn't have a counter or anything like that. So I want to see him improve the plan, and that would help me move him upwards. But I know that he's going to be one of the more dominant players and probably be a first-round pick at this point because he's just been so good in the last, I don't know, 2 months. So that he's a good player, and I'm not trying to down him, but I just wish I saw a little bit more. Next up is going to be the edges. The first two, group of junkyard dogs, in my opinion. First off, you got Derek Moore and Gabe Yakis. Those two guys, pretty similar players on the surface, in my opinion. Yakis is a little bit bigger, and they're both and Derek Moore plays outside linebacker. Gabe plays 4-eye to edge, up to 4-3 edge. I think he can stand up, and that's what they did at Illinois a lot. So maybe he just is the most versatile player in the game. Pretty similar player on the surface. Like I said, they're both strong as an ox, both of them. They both can play the run well right now, NFL run. So I think Yakis, like I said, has more positional versatility. He's just a lot bigger, but Moore is a better pass rusher. It was on display at the Senior Bowl. If you watched the Senior Bowl, both of these guys killed it. I told y'all, if y'all watched the Senior Bowl introduction video or whatever it was, the edges were going to tear apart the offensive line, and well, they did that. I almost feel weird being by myself on these two though. So I think Gabe is not nearly as high on anybody's board, and I moved him up 9 spots. And Derek Moore, I think Derek Moore should be top 50 for most people at this point, but we'll see if they actually are, good on that, because he's absolutely deserving. The next guy is going to be Joshua Josephs. He's my guy. He was the dark horse. I get how Tennessee's defensive structure is. They just constantly sub out players, but he is one of the most electric pass rushers in this class. Just insane quick first step, bend, closing speed. Just a really good athlete that can get after the passer. So if you're just looking for a pass rusher and someone that can do that, I think that Joshua Josephs can do that. I also think that he played much better against the run this year. So that was very important to me also. The last guy is Cassius Howe. I'm so sorry, Dustin. Don't watch. My other co-host, if y'all don't know Dustin, he is our other co-host, and he is a Texas A&M fan. And I knew he was going to fall, and I said that on our first big board, but I wasn't expecting it to be 19 spots. Yeah, especially with so many players going back to school, he still fell 19 spots, which is crazy because he would have been much farther down if they were still there. Rewatching tape against the NFL talented players, Trevor Gooseby, Francis Mauigoa, Caden Green even, who went back to school for Missouri. There were just too many times the physical tools just hindered him. He's just too short. His arms are too short, and that's a problem for me. But I love his juice. I love it. He is one of the most just like gifted pass rushers, and he's a super good DPR in this class. But I just think some of the others are better, and they have 3 down opportunities. They're 3 down players. That's what we're talking about with Derek Moore and Gabe Yakis, and even Joshua Josephs plays the run better. Keldrick Falk is up there. We'll talk about him here in a second. But like all of those guys play the run so much better than Cassius Howe can, and they have some juice as a pass rusher, or have literally like game-breaking upside, like the next guy we're going to talk about. That is Keldrick Falk. Keldrick Falk is the physical freak of the class that has no production. Shamar Stewart had 1.5 sacks through 3 years. Keldrick Falk at least had 2 this year. Good job. But he reminds me a lot of Michael Williams and Shamar Stewart conversations where it's like, okay, should I just take the physical freak, or should I hope because he does not have the stats to back up the physical freakness, And he dropped 14 spots for me because I just was like, I can't do it. Even knowing I loved him coming into the year, he's great against the run. He is possibly a top 3 edge against the run, and he's got all of the tools to be, he has all the tools to be Aiden Hutchinson. But the problem is he does not finish on the pass rush. So we will see if I'm wrong. I might be. He might turn out to be more like Danielle Hunter, where you don't need sacks. You just go to the NFL and you find sacks. Or he might be Shamar Stewart, who has less sacks, has 0 sacks this year. But he was injured, but still he had 0 sacks this year. So that's the question mark. The next guy is going to be Omar Cooper Jr., and I want to shout him out because he was my guy, and I actually had to have conversations with people about like how good he was, and they were just like, no, he's the second best receiver on his own team. He doesn't deserve to be a top 50 pick, blah, blah, blah. Well, get out of here. You're wrong. The more I watch him, the more I want him to be on my team. I am a Raiders fan. If y'all didn't know, Fernando Mendoza is most likely going to be our first overall pick, and Fernando plus Omar would be hilarious in my opinion. But it is a need. Both are needs. Compact build. He's hard to tackle. The compact build also helps him be a good blocker. He excels as a route runner. He just has insane in and out breaks, understands holes and end zones. He played a lot of slot this year. I mean, he almost played full time in the slot this year. But in 2024 and 2023, he basically played all of his snaps out wide. So he is a versatile player, can play both. And I think that that's important. So there's a skill set there that I like to tap into. He's not just a power slot. So this is a guy that I like getting on, gets after it, blocks hard, makes insane catches against Penn State. And I just really like this guy, and I was really high on him. And I'm glad that I set my flag early enough for it to matter. Next up, top 21 through 30. There's some names on this list that might surprise people, even myself, when I did it. TJ Parker. We're going to talk about the edges first. TJ Parker, one of the safest players if you get him at the back half of the first round. I just think he's a very solid edge 2. Not sure he's ever going to be an edge 1, but he might be one of the highest level edge 2s you're going to see at the NFL level at one point in his career. And so that makes me sleep pretty good at night. When you think about it, you're not gonna be able to draft only guys that are gonna be legit edge 1s, and like that happens very few times. So getting guys that are good edge 2s that play the run well and can pass rush about 15% pass rush win rate type stuff, like those guys are going to help you so much, and like pressure and feeling the pocket and stuff like that. Like those are such important players. Maybe they're not the 15 sack guys, but I think that those guys are just as important in my opinion. Next up is going to be Zion Young. I was so high on Zion Young already. He was at 39 for us, and then I just couldn't not put him higher. I just had to keep him going up. Most likely the highest you will see him ranked. Just can't get enough. Strength and power has always been his calling card. He just absolutely he is my favorite run defender in this class at the edge position. I mean, there is a different level compared to some of the other guys in my opinion. But when he uses his strength and power, he just stifles people, knocks them back with his punch like they're supposed to him. He just you see him and their head goes back. One of the best run defenders though because of that. That lets him set the edge. That lets him destroy tight ends. Like they don't want to block him, and by the end of the game, they don't block him. The pass rush development, though, is what really moved him up these boards, is because he is just such a good pass rusher at this point compared to where he was. I mean, the night and day from like last 2024 to 2025 is crazy. He uses his power to set up other moves, but like he starts power, and you think he's gonna run through your chest. He is more of the push the pocket than actually finish sacks. Kind of like how Jared Verse only gets like 9 sacks a year. That's what Zion Young does. He's not going to ever be like this high, like 15 sack guy. But if he is your edge 2, Zion Young is going to be such a freaking awesome player as an edge 2 because he is going to play the run better than anybody, and then he's going to put offensive tackles in the lap of the quarterback, or even sack them with the quarterback. Like it's that kind of guy. I just love his game. I really do. The next guy we're going to talk about, and I think he's 3 downs and day 1 contributor, signed off, in my opinion. That's how I feel for Zion Young. The next guy we're going to talk about is Hakeem Mesidor out of Miami. I had this conversation with my co-host Cam, and I was just like, hey, like this class is down. I don't know what to do with Hakeem Mesidor. He's really good at football. And I think we kind of had this like come to Jesus, or we come to the realization that, draft older players. It's okay to draft older players. I used to think that, being old was bad because the team that drafts you on the second contract is going to get a 28 to 30-year-old player. But I think that kind of changes because the more I like do this, as an NFL team, you're going to start seeing like, oh, what does it matter? 4 to 5 years down the road, your contract, it really won't matter as much. It will matter like what the price is, but it's not going to matter to the team because they're going to have gone through, hills and valleys of all kinds of things that happen. 5 years is a long time. And we've seen teams go from like 2-15 to 13-4, you know what I mean? And in that amount of time. Shoot, even 1 year. You talk about Washington last year. They went from being a top 3 pick to, making the NFC Championship. So it can happen. And Hakeem Mesidor can help right now. I think it's a really good example to me is a couple years ago, we had Jared Verse versus Dallas Turner. And Verse has been an insanely impactful player in all areas of football. Now, like I said earlier, he's not going to create a ton of sacks. He's just going to push the pocket. They actually have, in my opinion, the Rams, he's not even the best pass rusher for them. But his age came with strength that younger players just do not have. While Turner, it's been a really slow burn. And he's finally starting to look like he could be that guy, but he's still 22. He's not even 23 yet. While, Hakeem Mesidor is going to be 25, basically halfway through his rookie season. Turner might still end up being having the better career overall, but you're still going to have to pay him after 4 years. And so I think I'm slowly building on this idea that maybe the best age, it's definitely not 25. Don't get me wrong. Hakeem Mesidor being old is not the point. But I think I'm more comfortable drafting these guys to teams that want to win now, especially. And I kind of like want to know by the group because personally, I think maybe 22, 23 is probably the best time to come out. But I want to know in the comments, what is the ideal age? Are you going to draft somebody that's 24 plus years old? Are certain positions more understandable for drafting those things? And is it better to draft a 20-year-old that hasn't developed fully or a 25-year-old who is ready to go day 1? And obviously, some of those things you can't answer because it'll all just be dependent. But I just want to know what everybody thinks. I'd love to hear it. Next up, we're going to talk about the offensive tackles. The first one's going to be Blake Miller out of Clemson. And okay, the roller coaster with Blake Miller and me. I love Blake Miller. I really do. But there are things that I dislike, and there are things that I wish he, grew. I wish he grew, like I thought mentally and stuff. Blake Miller's 25 because I still want to shout out the fact that he was our dark horse, this type of player that I love to watch and I think can play offensive tackle. He is a tight end in an offensive tackle body, and I'm a sucker for it. The smooth athlete that looks like a tight end playing offensive tackle is my favorite type of player at the position. The more I watch him, the more I like him, even knowing Clemson had a terrible year, and that kind of sticks in my head. I think that he had mental issues that I wish he did better on. But if he does the things I think he should do, he is going to be so good. He has a nasty streak. Just loves to toss players and jump on top of them. It's all over his film. Just a guy I can't quit, even if I'm not still picking him in the top half of the draft. Like at one point when we did our mock draft and during the summer, he was like 14 to Seattle. And that's just not where he is anymore. But I still like him a lot. Next up is going to be Monroe Freeling. And the reason he was not ranked is because I didn't expect him to declare. I didn't think he was going to come out. He's a true junior, a true offensive tackle at that, and big guy, 6'7". I think he has some things to work on, similar to a guy we're going to talk about in a second, Caleb Lomu. He's just still raw. He's light in the pants. He doesn't have the greatest anchor. I think that was the development I wanted to see him go back to school for. And I think he could have competed for offensive tackle 1 in the next class, which honestly, he will possibly do in this class. Like, he is that good. I need to watch his film a little bit more and get some better feel of like if I think he can anchor better and he has that enough strength to play day 1. But I think right now, I think he's a guy that you draft and sit, and that's why he's at 27. But I think he can play day 1, he's going to be in the top 20. This is one of the floor versus ceiling players that I am not sure how to figure out yet because I just didn't watch him enough. Excited to see how he tests. That will be really telling of what kind of athlete he is and if it matches my thoughts on him. The next up is going to be the cornerback position. It's going to be Keith Abney starting off. I think Keith Abney could end up as a nickel. He's just a sticky player. Anticipation is one of my favorite things about him. Competitor. I just think he can play in any defense and he can play in multiple spots and do lots of good things at those. Keith Abney has really turned my head on, and I didn't know that I was going to like him this much. And the more I'd like it, the more I'd look at him and more I watch his stuff, dude, this guy he is going to try to win all the time. And he is going to find a way. And that's why I like him. Next up is going to be Avion Terrell, AJ Terrell's little brother out of Clemson. He is most likely a nickel at the next level, and that's what we're expecting. A quick and explosive, may test better than any of the other cornerbacks, corners or nickels. He's a willing tackler, may not be the best tackler, but he's willing to do it. He's a very smooth player, avoids false steps. He's athletic. He's got really oily hips. He can chase down some players because he might be the fastest guy in this class when it's all said and done. And he's capable of manning NFL slots, which is a really big deal if you're going to get a guy on the field like this. Like he can keep up with NFL slots, and that's important for the nickel position. Next up, here it is. Okay, offensive tackle group. Spencer Fano has fallen out of the top 10. If you look, we have 3 tackles. Francis Marinoa is still up in the air if he's going to be a guard or not, but I think he's a tackle. They're all 1, 2, 3. So they're most likely going to move around, but I really like Fano, but he's not a perfect prospect, if that makes sense. He's undersized. He's got shorter arms. His anchor is kind of iffy, and some people think he should play guard. I don't see that at all, but he is still my favorite because of the athleticism that he possesses. I mean, he is literally a tight end. Not like how Blake Miller plays, like, oh, he's got the smooth athlete. No. Spencer Fano is actually like tight end. Like, that is a tight end out there playing tackle. And that's part of the undersized part, you know. Just the athletic upside, though, is insane with this guy. He also has the lateral movement skills to be able to do it. So I just love that. His run blocking is an absolute plus. And he's great at mirroring, but the anchor, sometimes defenders will just try to run through his chest, and he can't stop them. That's just because he just doesn't have the lower body strength, and that athletic lower body also takes away from that kind of like base that you need to stop players coming at you. Next up, Caleb Lomu. Young, but has the best ceiling in the group, in my opinion. I think that Caleb Lomu is ready to pass block at the NFL level. The intangibles for pass blocking is really good. I think he has the length that some people push back against to be a true offensive tackle. There's no question I don't think you can move him to guard. He is ready. He's going to be an offensive tackle. Left tackle kind of reminds me of, David Bakhtiari size-wise and stuff like that. So look for that. Really excited to see all three of these guys test at the combine because I think it'll be super telling along with the rest of the offensive tackle class. But next up is going to be Francis Malioa. Questions about if he's better at guard or offensive tackle. I think he's a tackle. I think though you can't pick him too high if he plays guard for you. So whoever picks him will start him at tackle, and they'll have to let him fail. And I just don't think he's going to fail. I think he's very much so going to be like Will Campbell, where I think Will Campbell's a better guard, and we've seen deficiencies from Will Campbell, but at the same time, he's good enough at tackle that you don't move him. That also runs into the fact that if Will Campbell was a guard, he'd be an all-pro. While Francis Malioa, I don't think he's got that upside. I think that at tackle, he's been a brick wall and he should stay there. And he's getting hyped because of a bad class, if that makes sense. He's getting the hype because of the bad class, but I don't necessarily think he is as good as maybe we're making him out to be. Next group is wide receivers. We're going to start with Carnell Tate, who was 8 on our board, dropped 6 spots. That's a lot in the top. So dropping 6 spots is a lot, but I just think that there's some deficiencies, and I'm going to tell you all why. Also, if I had to pick Carnell Tate or Tet, I'm taking Tet, and Tet was ranked 18th on our board. And that's when I was like, okay, I have to move Tate down so that it represents like how I see across different years. Because if I don't like Carnell Tate as much as Tet, and Tet, maybe I should have had Tet higher, but truly, I had Tet there on purpose. Like there was a reason. So Carnell Tate needs to be moved down. That's just kind of a justification point. But also, I think that there are reasons. As a player, the good parts of the player is he's one of the safest in the class. He can block. He can route run. He's really good at route running. He's, field stretcher, catches a lot of posts, a lot of go balls, and he's got insane contested catch ability with 0% drops and like an 87 on his contested catch percentage. But there's also a reason to move him down. He just may be, and we've seen him do this, so it's not like it's a surprise, but he might just be a wide receiver 2 in an offense. And how many wide receiver 2s are you picking in the top 10? I just want to know, because it's just not, I don't think that is realistic. So if he's a wide receiver 2 in an offense, I'm not sure that guy gets picked in the top 10. I'm not sure that guy even demands the ball enough. And we've seen him be a backup or a wide receiver 2, even wide receiver 3. He showed that with Jeremiah Smith, who was the wide receiver 1, and even Emeka Buka last year when those were wide receiver 1 and 2. So you draft wide receiver 1s in the top 10. I think that the Carnell Tate is a wide receiver 2, and that's why he's lower. And he might even trend down, while some people want to trend him up just because he's so safe. And I get that. I get that a lot. The next guy is Casey Concepcion. My favorite wide receiver I watch for consensus, 3-level separator. He's a special playmaker. I'm going to constantly push this guy up as much as I can. He actually moved down the board, but that's just because I don't think this wide receiver class is as good as I thought it was originally at the top. I think overall it's really good. It's a deep class, but I don't know that I think all of these guys deserve to be top 15 players. I just love though what Casey brings to the table. He beat the allegations that he was a gadget player when he transferred, because at A&M they used him to be a true Z receiver where he got out there, and he could also play in the slot, but he got out there and he made people he ran good routes, he got after it, he had contested catches. I mean, he has drops, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of drops, and that's the biggest knock on him, but if that's the biggest knock on him and he needs to just get on the drag machine, cool, because I think he's one of the most explosive players in the class. Especially, he's three this year. He was at 3 different. He was all SEC at 3 different positions, basically. Like that tells me a lot of what he is: all-purpose player, a kick returner, and wide receiver. Like he is that type of athlete. I just really like Casey. Next up is Mekhi Lemon, the people's champ. I believe Daniel Jeremiah has him as the number 1 receiver at 7 this year. Everyone's favorite wide receiver. Plays hard, willing to do whatever it takes. I don't think he's has the athletic upside to be warranted above Tate or Tyson, like some might, but because he's just so robotic. Now, that's not bad, don't get me wrong, but it's just, I just want guys that can, how do I put this? If you're going to put somebody above some of these other guys, you have to be able to be explosive and be a game changer. And I don't think Mekhi Lemon is a game changer. I know that he, of course, was the number one player on a USC team that had to score. And he is the Blitnikoff Award winner, even if he didn't deserve it, because Jeremiah Smith was the receiver of the year in the Big Ten, and they both play in the Big Ten. I just really think the issue is I can't get to top 10. I still think he is a possible slot only guy at the next level. If he is Lad McConkey, he didn't deserve to go top 10. I mean, he's better than Lad to most people, but I don't know that he is in my personal vision of him. So that's kind of my biggest issue with him is just like, I wish I could, I wish I could get there, but he's not a wide receiver one to me. And I don't think he's Amon Ra like some people say. So that's my problem with him. You can leave something in the comments calling me out for being rude about Mekhi Lemon and Little Citrus, but I'm just telling you how I feel. I don't think he is a wide receiver one, and that's why he's lower on our board. Next up is going to be Caden McDonald. At 16, he is one of the biggest jumpers in this class. Just his ability versus the run is insane. I think, the menace on first and second down is so valuable that I throw out the window that he's not a great pass rusher because he is A plus against the run. An interior defensive lineman shouldn't ever have a 13.8% run stop rate. That's just freaking insane. Just a special player against the run, and I'm gonna rank him accordingly to what he can do in that phase of the game. The next up is going to be Caleb Banks. I had to move him down a little bit. He lost 4 spots. Thought he looked good at the Senior Bowl, but I just think, there's just not a big enough sample size to put him that high. 4 games at the end of 2024. In 2025, he was injured basically the whole time, played a few games, but he did not look like himself. And then at the Senior Bowl, first day, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to move this guy down to 40. And then the next couple days, he was just an absolute freak and did everything I was hoping he would do. So we're going to leave him around this range. I think he's still a top 20 player. I think people are going to argue that, but that's okay. I think if you get the best Caleb Banks on your team at the NFL level, you're getting a Chris Jones type of player. That's what I think. Next up is going to be David Bailey. Oh, well, maybe. Hey, guys, guess what? We're going to go to the next screen, and David Bailey's on it. Edge, David Bailey, scares me putting him this high. I just want to be honest. He scares the hell out of me. He's most likely a DPR at the next level. That's the truth. But he's so good at rushing the passer that it might be okay. Like, he's that good. He might have one of the quickest first steps in the NFL. And he has some of the best moves to counters I've seen out of anybody ever. Watching this, like ever doing this as an NFL draft, for NFL draft prospects. So that's not the problem. It's the run game. His pass rush ability overrides the run defense, but his run defense is so bad. And I'm not saying it got better. It got better, sure, but I still needed to see so much more to be comfortable putting him this high because he is a bust potential out of this world. But at the same time, if you believe that he can play the run a little bit and be on the field on first, second down. Even if he's not, and he's just a DPR, he might still be a 15 sack a game guy. I mean, a year guy, and that would be super important for a team. So that's why he's this high, and he scares the hell out of me. But yes, he is up here. Next up is going to be Ruben Bain. On the other hand, Ruben Bain has a completely different set of issues. He is great against the run, but he has short arms. He may be better suited to play 4-eye. I mean, he is short with short arms, but he is wide and thick in the bottom end. Doesn't get moved off the ball. That's why he might be able to move inside, but doesn't matter. That's the question. Like, does it matter? No, probably not. Because if you look at everybody else's boards, including mine, and watched him play in the College Football Playoff, absolutely killed it. Both of these guys have issues, like Ruben Bain and David Bailey. If they were one guy, shoot, they'd be the best player we've ever seen. But in a weak class, they have been 2 of the most dominant edges this season, and both of them deserve to be in the top 10. So there's that. Let's talk about quarterback 1 and running back 1. Mr. Jeremiah Love up there at the top. Love is a very good football player, and I'm loving my comp more and more as I watch Seattle play. But I think he's just a taller Kenneth Walker. I think Jeremiah Love is a taller Kenneth Walker. Watching Kenneth Walker when Charbonnet is out, and it just makes me think of Love at Notre Dame. And let's not forget, Kenneth Walker was a Doak Walker Award winner. So, like, they're very similar path. Kenneth Walker was a much more decorated running back coming out of college, playing for Michigan State. And I think they have a lot of similarities in, like, how they run, how their explosiveness, how they have long speed and can take the ball to the house at any point. Of course, Love, and they're both good receivers. Like, they kind of are all around running backs. And the problem will be Jeremiah Love doesn't have the negative plays that Kenneth Walker has, but neither did Kenneth Walker at the college level. So when Jeremiah Love gets to the NFL level, is he going to be able to make people miss in the backfield and still make positive plays like he does at the college level? Probably not. He'll probably have some of those negative plays that I think Kenneth Walker, people get mad about him for. But it's going to be the explosive plays that you're really looking for and getting excited about with this guy. Now, he's not in the Bijan range. He's not the next tier. He's not the Ashton Genty. I don't think so, at least. Some people have him as the number one player in this class, and I just don't see that. I think that there are a lot of things that he does well, but I think, I don't think he's as gifted as some of these other people think. Next up is going to be Fernando Mendoza. The more I watch him, the more I like him. I'm actually excited to have him as a Raider. He's not Jaden Daniels or Drake May or Caleb. He's right behind them tier-wise, but he's better than, the Michael Penix Jr.'s. He's better than Bo Nix. He's better than J.J. McCarthy and even Cam Ward. Wish he wasn't so odd on camera. That's just me. He's just a weird guy, and he's so funny when he does his interviews. But at the same time, I think that, Fernando has a lot of upside. One of the biggest question marks is quarterback's all about landing spots, and he is going to be thrusted into the hardest landing spot in the NFL. So we will see if that is going to be capable of overcoming no matter who you are. So that's just my thoughts. Last guy's Peter Woods. I'm just going to breeze over him. He's good at football, Clemson down here, and I'm just moving him down because there are some issues, but he still has legit athlete written all over him with plus level football ability. So that's just where I'm at with him. Next up, final grouping. We're going to talk about each of these guys individually, but as you can see, Jordan Tyson is the only one that jumped into this top five. Starting off with Jermon McCoy from Tennessee, still the best cornerback in the class. Everyone wrote off Will Johnson last year, and I just don't do it twice. He was really good this year too. He's better in zone, but is the best man cornerback in this class. Like, when he's in man, he never looks uncomfortable. He just like kind of, is out there, and he has the long speed to keep up, long catch up, even if he recovery speed. He does such a good job pressing wide receivers to the boundary and pushing them to the out of bounds line and then making the play on the ball. Someone is going to get a steal, in my opinion, because Jermon McCoy is going to fall because he tore his ACL, I don't know, over a year ago at this point. So he'll be almost a year and a half removed when the season starts or more. Next up is going to be Jordan Tyson. He was from Arizona State. This is the best wide receiver in the class. That's not a question to me. I think a lot of people worry about how his injury history is and stuff like that, and that's why they're pushing him down. But no, like Jordan Tyson, if you take the injuries off, if you turn the slider off, you're going to get the best wide receiver, and that is number 4 in this class. Finding someone this fluid and natural is just incredible, insane. Like, this dude can do insane things. Cornerbacks are always confused when trying to cover him. I mean, they cannot cover him one-on-one, and man, it's not possible. I swear to God. Like, it is almost comical to watch. Subtle, nuanced, and versatile. Can play any position you ask him across the board. And the fluid part is my favorite because it just makes it look so effortless. And there's a guy that I think most people see as that in the NFL right now, and that's CeeDee Lamb. When CeeDee Lamb is at his best, that's what I see in Jordan Tyson. Just that fluid, natural player that can make catches anywhere, in awkward positions and stuff like that. And just freaky how he makes cornerbacks look. He makes them look silly. He just really does. He makes them look silly, and that's why he's at number 4. Next up is going to be the edge out of Ohio State, Arvo Reese. Questions about position. If you were taking this high, like most people will, he will be playing edge full time. But he hasn't done it. But he's one of the most gifted athletes in the class. Like, just like the physical gifts that he has been given are otherworldly. He has if he as an edge, he has been first step, power, length, closing speed, plus so much more. Like he's all those things, no problem. He's just an animal that has possible number one player in the draft written all over him. And I was pretty early on him, but at the same time, like there are question marks, and some people are pushing him down their boards, and I just can't do it because he has like the insane intangibles, even if he's not a good edge and he's a bust because no one can figure out what to do with him at edge. He's one of the best linebackers you're going to get. That's not even close. Like, him and Sonny Styles are up there next to each other. And Sonny is a better linebacker right now, but Arbor Reese has more upside if he just plays linebacker. As an edge, though, the dude's a freak. So I'm really excited to see him play edge. I want him to play edge. I want him to go to the perfect situation to be a chess piece. And I want him to actually play in a 3-4 more than I want him to play in a 4-3. So hopefully he can do that. The next guy is going to be Sonny Styles, one of my favorite players in the class. That's not even a question. My favorite GTD stories in the class. He was a dark horse. He was previously a safety. Because of that, he has the coverage ability that most people worry about with linebackers because he played safety. Has the ability to read it at such a high level for a second-year linebacker. It's just insane. He played in a Matt Patricia defense that is just not easy to play in. And I'm biased, but this is my guy, and he's the number 2 player on our board. And that's higher than anybody else, I believe. But it's just like if you're just going to take talent and look at the film over just like positional value, he is a top 2-3 player no matter what, in my opinion. So that's where we're at with him. And number 2. Next up is going to be Caleb Downs. Number 1 overall. Still the best still the best safety possible player I have ever watched. Ever. People are trying to put him in a position, and I just don't think he should. I think he can do it all. He can play in the box, he can play nickel, he can split safety, he can play free safety. He can do all of those things and be top 5 at all of them, in my opinion. And I think a lot of people are like trying to like say, oh, well, let's put him in a box and say, oh, he's got to be a nickel safety or a box safety or this one type of safety. Like, no, you just get this guy and you just say, go play football wherever basically they're going to put him wherever they can and make the most out of this guy. And he changes defenses completely, in my opinion. He allows you to do so much more because he can do that. You do not have to have sub packages. You just say, hey, Caleb, go do it. That's it. That's it. Like Caleb can do it, whatever you need him to do. So I don't want him to be constricted to anything. He is just so good at football, and just go let him be good at football. That's the trick. Like, use him everywhere and let him use his anticipation. I mean, he has the best instincts in the class at any position. Just absolute, freak. And I love it. And he's so good at football. He's going to fall way too far, and somebody's going to get an absolute steal on Caleb Downs, is how I feel. It's going to be great. For whoever it is, it's going to be great. And they should be jumping up and down. But that's it. That was going. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate y'all hanging out with us. We're going to have the draft coming up next week, the mock draft coming up next week. We're going to have position rankings coming up on GTD. Cam's going to be breaking down all the divisions, talking about free agency, all those things. And then off season is underway. Lots of things to be talking about, including quick videos about things that are happening right now, especially on the other channel when free agents are signed. Cam is going to be knocking out some short videos like that. So I appreciate you hanging out with me. Comment, subscribe, like I've asked. It really helps. And I will see y'all on the next one.